Steve gives me the, okay, good. All right, welcome everybody. If you're a visitor or not part of the community, we'll make sure you sign in. We appreciate it. Tom, if you would please, call roll. Brandon? Here.
Ivan Brown. Here. Larry. Present. Reed. Richardson.
Here.
Snodgrass.
Here.
Bill Smith.
Yeah.
Addie.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Aye.
Everybody got a chance to look at the, minutes from our last meeting? Any changes, corrections, anything? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve them as submitted. Motion approved. And motion number seven. Second, someone, please, thank you. Motion, second, all in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign, so good job on the minutes, your final, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Holly.
Thank you. So just a few things I wanted to go over tonight. First of all, I wanted to verify that the zoning commission has set the hearing date for the Online Road Overlay District. Is that on the 28th for sure?
Yes.
All right, and on that public meeting? Yeah, and then is it at 7 or 7:30? Right. And then, things that we've been working on for the, or first of all, welcome back, Molly. Thank you. Yes. I am extremely happy that she's back, so.
We all are.
So the things that we've been working on, over the last couple of weeks since the last meeting, I've been talking with One Columbus, so making progress on that end. And also, talking with Taylor Bell for a proposal, regarding, different tools that we can utilize moving forward. So hoping to have that proposal, by tomorrow, so that it can be presented to the trustees at their meeting tomorrow night. Molly will be at that meeting tomorrow night, to discuss that. And to discuss anything else that the trustees want to talk about regarding planning and, zoning. We did talk about, having a page on the economic development, on your website regarding economic development. So Molly has, put some stuff together as far as some initial thoughts. And we're gonna, refine that and get that to you guys here soon. I did talk to, Brian Lorenz's office about setting up a meeting, regarding AEP. At first they weren't gonna meet because it's not his district, but then I mentioned that I went to grad school with him, so he did say that he would meet with us, but I haven't heard back honestly regarding that. So we will have to, figure that out as we go forward. Then Molly has an update on the total market health, yeah.
So I have been in touch with the mayor down there and then the manager of Soy Market Health as well. And they have availability on Saturday, August 26th at 10 a.m. for a visit. Down there to see, what that looks like and ask them any questions they have about, the market house model and, that's the document that we do, the 26th. August 26th.
Is there any limit on how many,
I don't think
anybody knows what's coming?
Is this something that we're doing as the committee doing?
So Tom reached out to me and asked me to set up the meeting, so we were,
Basically, anything, so I will do some work on Sunday. Just to see what that market comes in. Maybe I want to do that.
I was available on the Saturday the 26th.
I mean, if it's something, I think we need to do that as a committee that, yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure that that's where we're at with that. Because I didn't. If we got this, we didn't know, but that's the first time I heard of that.
Something the committee wants to do.
Do we want to do that now, or do we, I mean, is this where we, because if we're, else is kind of getting put on. All that stuff getting put on hold while we're trying to get this economic. So is this the right time for that? I don't, that's my question.
I would say, if two or three of us have time to do it, and they have time to do it, we'll do it.
You can always do something else in another time.
Well, I heard we were talking to the mayor, so we're talking to officials down there, you know, whether choice of words, using up favors. Let's be real, that's how that all works.
Is meeting with the mayor, or just he's on board?
Yes, so he has a lot of information to do with the creation and is on the board, so he will be there at 10. And then Aaron, who is the manager of the market house itself, will also be available.
Personally, we're gonna need another meeting. If you guys go, we're still gonna need another meeting, you know, we still wanna meet with those people. Because I got a big billion questions, and I think if we get into it, we're all gonna have a big billion questions. And these people can answer a lot of it, because they're getting. So the only thing I don't wanna do is, like Paul said, burn up papers and, you know, have somebody say, well, I already met with them. And as we get closer to the village market, the farmers market, that we go down and want to bother them feeling. Because I think, for me, after looking at it, I want to have a list of questions, and I want to do an in-depth discussion with them on, you know, how this works, if they're willing. Yeah, and that type of thing, so that's my response, is closer to the time that we start working on that overlay and actually start working on the Center Village, farmers market. I just putting it out there, that we're gonna go beyond.
I just, right now, we don't even know that there's gonna be a Senate bill.
So, I mean, in my mind, it's an informal meeting, and whoever there, whoever has insight into what it took to set it up. When I talked to Judy, the last week, she knew of another one up in Medina. And so there are a few of these scattered around that have survived, and there are others that have not survived. So, I mean, it may be a question of we don't have the population for them. Or maybe we were, you were involved in setting it up.
I was involved in setting it up. I do think Lancaster does have a bigger population, obviously. I mean, it's a huge city, not a huge city, it's a city. So instead of being out in the rural area, they're bringing it into the city. But I do think that as you grow with Intel, that your population is going to be able to support that, so.
Yeah. And we may pull people from Thunder, downtown.
Right.
I don't doubt it, it's probably be successful, I guess. I almost have a feeling like kind of putting a cart in front of a horse here.
Just that it feels premature, or
I think it feels, personally, this is my personal opinion, it feels premature, because like I said, right now, there's mixed opinions on how that land's gonna be used across the street.
I will let you know that the mayor is not running again, so his term is up in the end of the year. And I know he has a place in Florida, so I don't know when, I mean, we are in August already, so we're thinking about that.
I mean, if board consensus, as long as, but I just am concerned, like I said, we're putting the cart before the horse. We don't even know for sure if there was more discussion or leaning that direction of that happening tonight.
Well, if that's the case, maybe as a committee, since we just a few, we don't have time to go. I hate to do this, Tom, but maybe we shoot you questions to ask.
The one topic, but the other guy.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Maybe, I would personally just make up some talking points, not to overburden him.
Yeah.
But if that happens because this gentleman's going to not be there, later on, maybe try to get some preliminary questions out of the way.
That's fine.
That'd be all right with you.
So we got the short two.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'll send out an invitation, they say, this is where we're going, this is how we're gonna get down, I don't know if people want to drive separately or together.
How far is it?
About an hour. Usually. And then just get,
I mean, like I said, maybe I missed it, I don't know, but I just think we need to remember what we had said at the very beginning of this whole thing. That we discuss things as a committee and as a board, and that we make sure everybody at least is on the same page and understands what's going on. Like I said, I'm not gonna say, I didn't see it, I may have missed, I'll be back and look at it. Yeah, cause that's the first I heard.
I can't tell you when, but I think it should be in the minutes at some
Okay.
point.
It came up a while ago about it.
I knew we had discussed, and that we thought it would be in November,
Yeah,
but
I didn't know that.
to actually say that we
Following
sat
up
down
on
and
that.
said, and we told these folks to do it, I don't remember that. But that's fine.
Are you going also, Steve?
I'd like to go.
Well, I'm just trying to think of, splitting up the session.
If it's just one or two of the committee members, one member of the committee, nothing personal. I mean, if it's just Tom, I think that's a waste of trip. If two or three from the committee are going, I think that's a good choice.
And I might be able to go too if I'm doing
We talked to the original presentation to the community back in February, put out there theoretically, here would be kind of a neat idea.
Yeah.
So I think we're consistent with what we've been saying about, ideas for development without saying, hey, we're going hard to the hoop for this. On the flip side, it doesn't hurt to signal to whoever that is a just strategic planning committee, we believe that kind of development could be a positive for Harlem Township, if you know what I mean. So,
Which is important.
right? So, that wouldn't hurt. We need a motion or?
I don't think we need to do much, just, the only thing I will remind everybody, is we have to be very cautious when we are speaking as a committee as to what we say, because commitments can be taken, because this is an official board. And so we have to be careful.
It's a learning.
Exploratory. So I would ask,
Okay.
And Molly and I will be there too.
so you'll have your ruler to smack on the hand.
We'll be the-
No, you can't have that.
And that is all I had for our update today. Oh, I guess, Jim and I are working on looking at future overlays, but I mentioned that last week, so.
Yeah.
Guess that's gonna take us into the subcommittee.
Yeah.
It's worth being on record. I feel like.
Well, I don't know.
Well, depends, I guess the
Once we get to the public,
see where we are.
y'all come up with some good questions. Gotta keep us here at least an hour.
Well, I mean,
Overlays and the additions to the ones that were published recently?
We don't even know right now, yeah, we're not really sure what's going on, so.
before you get started, you want to give us a little background of One Columbus, what the sense of that game was?
It's positive, so I think there's some. Definitely what I need to mention.
I think a lot of people.
A lot more know that than they used to.
They did, the industrial certainly caught their eye. And I, have some follow-up work that I need to do on my end with that. But I think it was overall very positive.
Your main contact with the guy,
Matt.
in comment to, they know who we are. I happen to be at the Horse Fair, and I went into the Intel booth. And I was talking to the folks in Intel. And I happened to mention Harlem Township, the guy goes, oh yeah, you guys are right over there on our corner. So yes, they know who Harlem Township is. I think. Good. All right, we'll go ahead and start the, Tom, did you have something you wanted to bring up?
Right. Can you do those first?
Okay, Jim. I didn't see your name on it. That's what I was asking.
That's all right. Extremely good. Extremely. Developers, realtors, things are heating up. I think when everybody saw the construction start on the sewer, that guy was like, oh, it really is happening. Land is being bought up like crazy over in Licking County. So there's not as much opportunity over there, so that puts the gun sights on us. Answering a lot of questions. We're doing a lot of side work as far as talking to people, trying to get a layout of what's happening. Interesting comment this afternoon. I was waiting over at Picasso's, and a realtor called me and said he'd been up in our northeast quadrant talking to people. And one of the residents up there told him that 1,200 acres have been sold and that a Tesla plant is going in. I kid you not. Where did they come up with this? And then this guy, I said,
That was me. That was me. I called Jim. But yeah, there's a lot. The gun sites are definitely on Harlem.
Yeah.
The rumor mill is spinning. Yeah, it was a crazy thing that I heard. And I was like, Jim, I gotta run this by.
no, we're just cracking up.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Did they specify the pool?
I think they were talking about South Carolina.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I couldn't, yeah.
I think they were talking about your house, Mike.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know if maybe they,
I don't know.
were they specifically talking about Harlem Township, or maybe this was more rumors about that pink box that appeared on the map that no one knows where.
I was down at the Tesla facility down in Texas. I don't know what 1,200 acres is about. That's huge.
But, anyway, there are some new properties up for sale in Harlem Township, 40 acres, 38 acres, that type of thing. So keep an eye on those, just to, if they have questions, what's going on. And, then, of course, the big question, always is utilities, which follows over to Bruce's committee, but we've got to sort of intertwine, and he and I are going to try to get up and talk with the sewer department and get some things started moving as far as straightening out what we can present and that type of thing. So a lot of phone work, a lot of driving out, looking at parcels, and somebody calls, so I've got 4 for sale signs in the car to put on my lot. I'm picking on her tonight because she didn't call me back.
You know what, I didn't.
And there must have been a reason.
The reason was because his text came through when I was on a work meeting, and then I saw it come through and was like, oh, okay, I'll respond to it, and then I just completely forgot.
Okay,
What's happening like that? You said, you tell me that.
oh,
Mountain, then you bring back.
yeah, we got mountains and all our mountains, so down at, Fancher and South County Line Road, that our big mountain of dirt that you can see on the, GIS map. So I'm driving down through there, and there's a whole bunch of mountains sitting there, gravel, huh? Well, this isn't dirt. This is gravel, sand, and a batch plant sitting there. A little mini batch plant. So the wife and I, being the nosy people that we are, I pull in. Boom, you guys are in there working, drive around. I used an excuse to be in there. And then, I asked what was going on, and he said that, they're just using that as a staging area for the gas line that they're putting in for Intel. And there's just workers and stuff over there, and then that's South County Line Road is closed. Just north of that, where they were crossing over the road. But, yeah, there's a ton of activity, because everybody's go, trying to get this stuff over to Intel. But yeah, you're driving down the road and all of a sudden you see this batch plant and all this material sitting there. You go, oops,
So is it a batch plant?
just a small one. That's where they mix the concrete.
Oh,
Kind of like what was across the street that didn't know what, makes a more portable scale probably.
That's all right. I approved it while I was there. They're calling me some filters in my yard.
Should have got some concrete out of that gold.
I would say, I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but I know when we used to put lines in and stuff, a lot of times when you have a steep angle, you concrete it in.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I,
Yeah, so it's not that they're pouring tons, I would say it's on their angles and where they cross roads, and, different things like that. It didn't look like it was for pouring walls for one of those big buildings or anything like that, it was a small scale.
whenever your board take a drive and make sure it doesn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't see a zoning violation.
Oh, very much so.
I would be concerned that we don't enforce that because.
Well, do you really want to throw them out? The other thing is, that the people are owners. I don't know if you want to pick that particular pipe, and there might be other things coming along.
I'm gonna say those things. Please forgive me, but if I'm gonna enforce zoning, that's what I enforce.
That's true, but are they really, no, never mind, I'll go over that later. Anyway, yes, that was there. I saw it. The reason that I thought was interesting was that the amount of work that was being done to run that gas.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's a big deal. Trucks everywhere up and down South County Road, in and out of there. Mike and I were watching the dump trucks all over Harlem Township. It's quite a construction zone in David Mills. So, any other questions? No. Actually, I did get a picture.
check out Main Street.
I did take it on myself.
And Bruce?
Yeah, so first, I'll comment on the AEP transmission line project. Our resident Rottweiler, Tom Mead, is aggressively pursuing getting our message out. Tom's done a great job, I think, trying to leverage, Representative Beth Lear, who I understand was here at one of our meetings recently, trying to get a meeting set up, and she's committed to helping with that. Tom's also trying to leverage contacts we have with Steiner and Associates, between the Conservancy and Duncan Run project. And that's a big name in development, so we're trying to find any way possible we can get an audience to talk to AEP about how important it is not to run power lines directly to valuable parcels of property and to try and go along property lines like we have in the past. So Tom's done a lot of great work there. Hopefully it'll materialize in getting an audience with maybe the power siting boards and folks that will be willing to listen. And Tom has a map showing where the different power companies are in the township. And it's got some suggestions, so if we can get the audience, we think we've got some good stuff to share with them, particularly comparing it to what they did. I think back, Jim thought in the 70s when they ran a line, kind of down Harlem, of course, that's, in that area, the highway.
Bruce, if I may, I feel like a hold on tonight. We have to be very cautious. You mentioned a builder. They totally misconstrued the message that they received. And they, at one point, were actually accusing of not letting them know that power lines were being run through the property that they had purchased. I mean, it got really momentarily ugly. We have to be careful and make sure what we're saying is being heard and being listened to and being said right. And careful about using positions or whatever, because that automatically takes to the next message. It's just, saying that, be cautious.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm not quite sure how that could have been misinterpreted. But obviously it was, that's problematic. I think the difficulty we've got as a township is at what point do we have to throttle ourselves to not rattle the right trees to try and get somebody to listen to us? And clearly they crapped on the trustee in the letter, right? So, oh yeah, I heard nothing. So, and I'm not suggesting we jump out of bounds, don't get me wrong, but sometimes squeaky wheels at least get people talking and at least maybe somebody to listen.
And I'm not saying that we don't do that, I'm just saying we have to make sure
We want to make sure we're factually accurate.
everybody in this room knows that the guy that's making this comment is probably the worst one to make, and we just have to be careful how and what we say.
No, fair enough.
You know, and it just, no, we don't want to create undue problems.
Absolutely, yeah, I got it. I got it. It makes perfect sense. But that is, you know, our objective, right, is trying to get somebody that at least will,
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, when I talked to the trustees, the District 2 will consolidate co-op. We had to set up a meeting with their CEO and their economic development people and working on that. Holly said she worked on, setting up a meeting with Brian Wren, that we were working with, exactly right here, the state government affairs manager. At one of my buddies in what's the Life Club works Uco. And so he said, you know, start with Michael Williams, who's the executive director, and you'll basically would say, what you want is you want, what you want. What to go by the power from a team that there's what's going on from the facilities, maybe a way in there. Our friends, the Gagers, have already had experience with, you know, our outside boards, so we can pick their brains. I think, Max, main suggestion was they will listen to the trustees in the county. So I think that's real well, so we're not talking right people. You gotta get to the level where they have some decision. Action, yeah, here again. So that's there, and anybody else who can come and roll in on the budget, try to get us access. And that's what I'm working on. Yeah. We have a point we want to make, and
Clarify how our planning board. That wasn't clear. Input of trustees.
yeah,
Not even,
yeah, that's exactly.
Because think of the APC. We like that, we had that glorious form of
When you say they'll have advertising, like what you do, did you attend a hearing, did you show up, or did you have you attend a hearing, or was it a letter, how was that received in the situation they're talking about?
Our personal experience is what you're referring to.
Yes.
Basically, the two 2,600 acre solar project surrounds us in our township in Hartford, okay? And a lot of landowners have invested lots of money in drainage projects, if you will, progressive farming. And there's a big risk for all of that to be disrupted, okay? So Matthew and I facilitated 3 of our neighboring landowners represent about 1,800 acres of that need to be protected from adjacent farms that we're going to have solar fields. And that involved hiring a attorney firm that is heavily involved in utilities in the state of Ohio, and forging through good neighbor agreements with the developer, if you will, And of course, there's a lot of interaction with the Ohio Power Siting Board. All those documents are part of the judicial record and process, with their attorneys, with the developer's attorney. We ourselves negotiated another good neighbor agreement relative to the protection of our small farm up in Hartford Township. This went on the National Register of Historic Places, in June of 21. And the one thing we really learned is there's many consultants who provide all kinds of information in those situations. And there's all kinds of code and administrative rules and agreements, but they're really not that meaningful until you really get involved and start to try and work something out. So it's a difficult situation. A lot of times people are referring to staff here, staff there, staff everywhere. Very seldom you get the chance to communicate with a person, identify a person, and have conversation with them. So it's an uphill struggle. Even though we've got good neighbor agreements, they still, when they're on the record, there's still going to have to be a lot of diligence, if you will, to follow through on that when the development actually occurs. And all of it was around protecting landowner interests, if you will, in the face of disruption that could cause problems in the future. I don't know if that helps, but that's kind of what we went through.
Good experience. The main face to the public, well, named Matt Butler, is still a public response. And that was the Ohio Power Siting Board highly listened to what trustees and the county commissioners input in their decision, whether they approve or approve with amendments to the design of what a rebuild is coming in. So they take very seriously what the trustees say and the county commissioners say. So I can use that to just work the township, work with county commissioners to have a unified message of what your vision and goal is, work with each.
Thank you.
Did we answer the question?
You did, thank you.
Okay.
So next up, I logged into the Delaware County Transportation Improvement District meeting last week. It wasn't a very long meeting. The main comment that I took away is that, and obviously there was an announcement in late July, early August about the governor doing 90 million or some big number to get transportation things done for Intel. But Delaware County commented they're getting $11 million from ODOT. And what they're trying to do is escalate the timing to get Duncan Plains and County Line, Fancher County Line work done with that 11 million that's been appropriated from that. They also made mention that they're still aware that Center Village and Fancher will need work. There wasn't money appropriated for that, so there was some comment kind of backhanded that maybe the county's going to have to come up with there's going to be local dollars coming up to do those improvements. Now, 605 is the state, so the 605 in Fancher stop sign roundabout, whatever they're doing is separate. That's more of a, that's not included in what they were talking about. That's already booked and planned and well on its way. These are projects that are still determined to fund.
And they did not talk about around about 37 and
They just said the improvements. So I haven't found yet what the improvements actually are. It was number 4 and number 8 on their list of 14 projects that ODOT had. Let's see, next on watershed, Tom, Ed, Matthew, and myself, actually Ed was nice enough to broker a meeting with Christy Hawthorne, who is Licking County Soil and Water leader. We had a phone call with her probably a few months ago, just more introductory, but we spent a great hour with her, just talking about ways we can be strategic, perhaps within Delaware County, about what we'd like to do to, help control the watershed. We talked about a range of topics. I think I had handwritten about 4 or 5 notes. There was so much good stuff there. She's very, very knowledgeable, very easy to talk to, and so much appreciative that Ted to get that done for us. She also sent us to some information that at least I had not stumbled on before, so it was almost a bit embarrassing to say I hadn't seen it before, but it was an indication that the Duncan Run watershed has already been identified as I'm gonna say, in my words, a problem area where it's already a project where they're looking for potential, if you apply for funding for ways to improve the watershed. So knowing some of the early projects are right in the middle of Duncan Run watershed, and if you remember a couple meetings ago, Tom and I brought some work from the mad scientists about how we might look at more larger watershed improvement situation. It kind of may all now fit together a little more. And again, there's some potential funding out there, but I was not aware that work had been done in 2020, I believe, that identified that there are, the non-point source problems within that watershed, enough so that it's on a watch list, and it's one of many that have been identified that there might be funding to try and fix them. So the other thing I thought might be good, and it's like 75 pages long, so literally I'm about halfway through, and it may give us an opportunity even within Delaware County Soil and Water, as projects come up, to get them more involved, because now there's good hard documentation that's been done to indicate that, there are some issues there.
So Holly, are you familiar with the 9-element plan?
So basically,
That's what the study was, and basically it's the first step. Once you have that in place, you can apply for grant funding.
so basically the non-point, there's a lot of words there that I didn't understand when I first read it. So the non-point source situation is when pollution comes from things like pesticides, herbicides, fertilizer, bacteria, sediment, anything that from a human activity, which is different than what is just a point source, which may be an oil spill or one particular event that causes the problem. So at least in Duncan Run watershed, it's been identified that there's enough of an issue there that it went through a 9-element process to get it on the list of things to qualify. So more work there to be done, but at least I thought it could be helpful to them. The other thing that we took away from that meeting is we looked at several different mapping configurations within the township. I'm hoping tomorrow I'll have some new maps that will lay out where the watersheds are, more where the streams and ponds are, where we can actually look at if you take Center Village South, where are the areas that are higher, that if we wanted to do something to look at where we might create some retention areas where we might do that. So that was a lot that happened. We met up at the Hartford Fair, and actually Tom and I on the Magpie Day got to walk the whole Hartford Fairgrounds multiple times. Looking at the Intel site, we found a building that was locked, so we went and asked the actual little fair manager's office, "Hey, is Intel here? We think they're here. We want to talk to them." And they said, "Oh yeah, we don't think they're going to be here until Monday." This was on Saturday or Sunday. We talked with them. So Tom and I got to see the entire fair. Last thing I'll mention is as Jim mentioned with the sewer project moving full speed ahead there on at Harlan and kind of county line. I've reached out to Tiffany Mag, who was here in April. Was pleasantly surprised that she responded to an email request within basically an hour and a half. So we're trying now to set a meeting where a few of us can go up and find out what the latest plans are from Delaware County about what they're looking to do with the sewer and where, because I know Jim's getting lots of questions. And I know it's been raised, some discussion about, a package treatment plant instead of septic. So, we need to get up to speed and see where she's at on some of this stuff. And if not, maybe help, make sure we can work together to do that process.
Bruce, did they say anything about Winfield Smith popping by there, be able to drop his plum down the hole to see how deep it was?
Great.
All I know is I drive by and see that basket. I'm thinking, man, those poor suckers who get dropped down there, that's pay I don't think I'd want.
Yeah, I wouldn't wanna reel that girl down to 150 foot down.
Oh, okay, testing somebody on a crane operator bouncing you,
Yeah, to interrupt or add on, one of the problems that we're going to talk to Tiffany about is funding. And that will coincide with what we're working with Holly and, the attorney and that type of stuff, start working on funding. So we have to nail, with everybody that's interested, when we go up there, we try to at least nail them down to something more reasonable about funding and how it's going to happen. And then go from there. But for some reason, every time we have meetings now, it's all about the funding.
Yeah, well, I can just tell you, I was really pleased that she was out of the office today, so they suggested I send an email, so I did, and literally being out of the office.
That's great.
She got back to me with an hour and a half, and sounded like she was.
Well,
So hopefully we'll find good news in there further
Somewhere.
along in the process.
Yeah.
We'll find out where it is and push whatever.
Well, and then as the process goes, then as the inquiries come in, if we actually get some kind of answer that we can pass along, which will let people start planning.
Well, that's what I said to her in the email. It basically was, what we're looking to do is communicate clearly what the Delaware County plan is, so we don't, to your point, not say something incorrectly that we're assuming. So, that's part of what we want to get out.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's great.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Molly.
I don't have a lot on communications. There were a few more side requests that came through from last meeting. I think the ballpark, I got maybe 24 requests to be added. I think it was more than that, but some of the people that requested to be added were already on the list. So that was a little interesting, like, you can't have to get anything else. But yeah, I'll come next meeting with an updated total of how many households we have on that email, list. Other than that, not a lot going on. I know Tom has thrown out the idea of potentially having a booth or like some people at the festival on the 19th to talk about the strategic planning work and the overlays, et cetera. If that's something people have interest in and something we can kind of coordinate and set up for the 19th, for that the Harlem Township Heritage Festival on whatever. Is that what we call it?
Harlem Township.
So that's something we want to set up, between now and Saturday. I could send out, I could use our distribution list and send out an email letting people know that, we will have representatives there. So, any thoughts on that?
Just a little background, the request came up a week ago, and then again, last night, the zoning commission meeting. How are we going to publicize to the residents that we're going to project what we're thinking to do? And, so one suggestion was that a booth at, the festival on Saturday and talk to people come up.
I thought we had decided as a board or as a committee last time that for us to get that information on a one-on-one basis was not the best way to do it because of the accuracy. And as far as that question goes, I think as soon as this committee passes something to the zoning board, it's their responsibility to get the word out that you guys are hearing it or coming up with the hearing.
It's not just that it's a hearing, and that's already been posted. So the hearing date, I hope the document is already posted on the country website. But this is more along the lines of what we did in the hearing. Explaining what we're doing, explaining the rationale, why we should do it one way and not another. And that would be what one way to do it, whether we can send out email to the portion of the list that's in the North Quadrant, I'm sure we can figure that out. Whether that makes sense.
Just like if you every now and then.
But whether we try to do the entire township and just say, focus on this quadrant, then let's, it would be more along the lines of what we do with policy, not so much strictly with hearing the zoning.
We need somebody to, either from this committee or from zoning, and frankly, almost a single voice, having these conversations, so it doesn't go down, go down a rabbit hole. Other, multiple, I could be standing there, Tom there, and we could be communicating slightly different material. And depending on what questions you're gonna ask, so,
Diving toward the overlay that's on the website, and I am getting called on it. I like to know what I understand what's happening out there. I guide them off the website and say, look this over. If you got any questions, call back and with your specific questions and go back with it. And haven't really got anybody calling me back, but they're definitely out there looking at it, and I think it's best to guide them to the overlay, that that's the fact of what's going on, that way you don't get different facts.
That's what really my biggest concern is different methods. That's just, that can take everything back.
And I think that with the community meetings that we did last year, we really planned those out, we thought about those, and we really had a concerted effort to move forward with those. This sounds like it's Tuesday, and Saturday, and we're just now talking about it, I'd be concerned about it. It's not going very well.
And I don't know, Tom had it as a, recommendation, for someone in the public, I assume that you're asking about it, but it's not something we necessarily need to move forward with, but it makes sense that we discuss it. And I kind of also feel that it would be a little rushed to throw something together, and I also don't know that a booth at a festival is like kind of the right, avenue to try to, disseminate information to people.
Well, the problem when you do something like that is I walk up halfway into the conversation that you're having. And now that's all. I hear that in, and I'm all over the next door.
Yeah.
It's just,
it's
I
an
think
uncontrolled environment.
it's an uncontrolled environment.
You hear that thing, what box is the Tesla plant going in? I heard that.
Exactly. I mean,
Oh, it's a.
well, at an airport.
I think Mike's comment is the right one, because people have questions and, if anything, keeping the information on the website accurate, that continues to direct people to that, for review.
And I can certainly send out, like, now that the public notice has been posted for the zoning commission hearing, I can use our email distribution list and send out a notice of that as well.
I think that'd be a good idea. And that,
They can't say that nobody got it.
Yeah, I think you send that out with the directions of this, if you're interested, this is where you go to look.
Yeah, like with a link to the public notice and a link to the page where the zoning overlay is, and obviously, a contact the specific planning committee directly with any.
And they can look at it at their leisure, if they have questions, and they can call.
Zoning.
And then Michael call me,
Yeah,
and then I'll call Holly.
and just making it, I don't know if you want to give them guidelines, because a lot of them just don't know where it's at on the website. They're on the website. And I'm walking through the website. I actually do pretty much just get their email and fire them going. So,
oh, they put the link into.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea.
You want,
That's why you don't.
should we put my contact information on?
I mean, I could,
No,
Yeah,
I wouldn't bombard.
I mean,
Just put
they've got my
the,
contact.
just put the link, I don't know what the it's on the website, they can contact, just put the link.
I'll link to the public notice and to the zoning overlay itself that's on the website.
And I guess if they have a question, they can always fire an email to the committee. But I think you keep everything right there. and it's about- Yeah.
I I think that kind of makes the most sense, because people who are really interested will take the time to, you know,
And for
skim
those who
through it.
are, they see there's something going on.
Yeah.
And there's some value in that as well. That's being contacted and being helped. Right.
And I think, you know, I want to make sure we take as much effort to, you know, reach as many people in town as possible, but if you live in this township and you don't realize that there's, you know, a lot of this kind of stuff going on, and you're not checking the website or on the email list, or, you know, calling in meetings, then, you know, it's kind of on the residents at this point to make sure that they're taking advantage of the way we are trying to communicate. So,
I've heard nothing but positive about it.
well, it's-
And I think they are, because we are getting, I get a lot of calls, but believe it, it's just a simple, we're not gonna see it.
Well, I'm quicker than negative, but I've not heard it.
I was just thinking about the first meeting we had,
Oh, that-
what was the,
so negative.
yeah, and communication was high on those, was the
Exactly.
weaknesses, so. Okay. It's okay.
Well, thanks, guys. But yeah, so I'll draft up and send out an email to that distribution list, and, you know, with the, you know, date of the hearing, all the information on the website to, you know, understand what the hearing is about. And then obviously, if there's any additional questions, you know, how to contact the
Now,
community.
I think that's the best way to reach the most people.
Yeah. Consistent.
And so, the same message.
Anything else?
One other quick thing, since we hopefully will be meeting before we get back together with Delaware County Sewer. And I wasn't at the last meeting, this was on the idea of package plans. I guess I'm interested in any general feedback. My point of view would be that, you know, we're gonna get pressure to do those, because I think the governor is talking about shortcutting processes to get houses built quicker for all the people that need for intel. So everybody's complaining about the length of time it is to do everything for septic. And I'm just telling you kind of what we also got out of the Licking County conversation. And whether it's a good idea to actually do or not, where I get concerned is, I'd be less concerned as we get into these projects, if we say, okay, when sewer comes, you know, you have to tap into it. That's all part of the agreement that might come from the township to say it works. But then if you look at a project like the Conservancy at Duncan Run, and we're talking about HOAs, there's gonna be money to retrofit to get the plan, you know, the package plan out. And what risk do we have that actually gets done? So I'm not looking for answers, but that's one of the reasons that I get a little squeamish when I hear, you know, the idea of package plan for some of these projects that people are talking about.
I think, my personal, is I think package plan, that particular idea as far as this committee needs to be avoided as much as possible. So there's a whole lot more to it than just throwing a package.
So that helps, so like, we could take that then when I'm meeting with Tiffany and say, look, there's a general thought process, that's not something we feel very good about, so what's the county think, and what's the county's message gonna be, so that we don't get mixed messages.
I will be interested in hearing what she says, because I was told by a member of the county that they are doing everything they can to no longer allow it.
That would make sense to me, but I worry that there's pressure coming from.
Well, I also think that is a publicity thing, because I think that what most of these communities are gonna require people, developers to tie in after the sewer is there. So the developers are not going to want to build a package plant and then tie in, and then tie it later. So the governor might be saying this up here to make it look good, but in reality.
Good politics,
Yeah.
because he's trying to solve a problem.
You know how those politicians are. Well, and Holly's right. So in the meetings that we're having there, again, it all boils down to money. And Holly's right. So the developer spends, I don't know how much to do the package plant, then when the sewer comes, just as a layman, you're talking $4,000 or $5,000 for a tap fee per house. So this guy, they're not gonna do that. No, they're not, you know, it sounds good, but if you're required to tap in, not only do you have to do construction work, just the tap fees $4,000 or $5,000. So you take that subdivision, they're just not gonna do it.
I think one of the things that, do we not want that when you guys meet, because we've discussed the holding tank. And if somebody, if a business or somebody wants to come in, you know, how's the county feel about that? I mean,
But not how to feel about that, that's a little bit different than a package.
Well, that,
Yeah.
and we're only talking about holding tanks, just as a general thing that we want to pressure, the health department, that if we get like, first off, holding tanks for residential is no.
Right.
Okay, so everybody understands that. Then.
Why?
Yeah, so then if you have, for instance, a trucking terminal or a distribution area that doesn't have a lot of employees, and you're not using sewer systems like that. That's where your holding tanks come in, and that they're serviced, you know, weekly or whatever, until the sewer gets there. You're more apt to get that approved so that you can get your project going versus, but if you're talking about residential, and I know people say, no, I wouldn't even entertain that idea. It's a false notion. There's all kinds of problems with that. But yeah, a holding tank, I am a big proponent of that for certain industries because it gets it going. And that's where we need to get all officials. If we get a project, that's where we would just take everything we've got and throw it at them and say, we need all the help we can get, all the way down. We want this done. And with the idea that it is going to tie into the sewer, it's not that expensive for the holding tank comparatively. And, so we'll see what Stephanie has to say, but I think that's also a health department type issue also. Sewer's gonna get the money, because when sewer gets there, they tap in, so they're happy. Cause that's a health department type thing, but so that everybody knows, and when you leave the room, and people on Zoom and everything, residential, no.
So, when we look at the area, you know, is going to be closest proximity to sewers, therefore expecting it to be there the soonest, right, coming up from Smothers. So if you had a developer who was looking at one of our overlays and was planning to put in a development of, say, 100 homes. And he was in close proximity to, you know, maybe where the sewer is going to be, or we're pretty confident, or we didn't even say the sewer is going to be there. Then what if the developer then said, well, I think it'd be a benefit to my homeowners to go ahead and plumb the thing instead of using septic, go ahead and put in a package, plumb everything to it. And then when the sewer comes, you basically have the tap into the sewer. Yes, that can be done.
Or it can be done, it's extremely expensive.
No, it's not that much.
Well, even if
They're
that,
not that expensive.
I don't-
You're talking, but you haven't paid your tax fee.
Wait a minute, but the developer is going to do that as part of the development.
why would we say no? I guess this is,
Yeah.
even arguing that.
You're talking about a package plant? That he tapped into a package plant?
Why would the developer cite a package plan?
If the developer
In the
says,
development area, knowing where it's going to be closest to sewer, and then pre-plumb that development for sewer to the package
Okay.
plan. You don't have to have septic now. That'd be a major benefit and sales point to his, people buying homes.
Yeah, Delaware County number two.
How do you know that?
Experience.
I'm not so sure that's true.
you don't think Delaware County would approve the package plan? I mean,
Well, we'll
I
find
know,
out.
on one hand, they say they won't,
Because if you're talking about ways to.
So you're saying the developer's gonna go ahead and pay the tax fee?
He's gonna pay the tap fee to get into the primary sewer,
Right, he's gonna prepay that
but
in order to get it approved. Because it's gotta be paid sooner or later. If you tap into a sewer, you have to pay the tap fee for every house.
Well, here's the problem.
I'm not sure the county
Problem we
looked at
have
it
right
that
now.
Oh, absolutely.
They will.
Absolutely. This is the road that I've been down.
Yeah, they're not gonna give us their tap fees unless there's
Yeah.
some package that they're.
I guess, but let me ask you, if you, are you,
those houses on, off the septic. So the
Then they
county,
wouldn't approve it in the first place then.
what do you mean?
They would, if they don't think it's gonna tie into the sewer, they're not gonna approve the package plant knowing the sewer is coming.
there was a property that I was there when that developer asked the county, can we go ahead, they're gonna be on septic right now, can we pre-plumb? And the county said no, which I don't understand why they
I
said,
don't either.
but the county said no.
But you still, every house has to tie into the sewer, has to pay the tap fee.
That's.
But they don't, but somebody can go, they can build a new development now in the area we're talking about, because there is no sewers. And so they're just gonna put in septic everywhere. And there's never gonna be sewer connected to that.
Most of them hold back. There again, I understand what you're saying, but on the ground situation, as it is right now, most of them on the larger projects are waiting for the sewer. The smaller projects may go with septic. And there are also some that thought about package. So, but the larger projects are waiting for the sewer because they don't want to go to the expense of, if they could, a package plant and then turn around and have to pay all that.
If, I guess my question is, would we, and I think this, I thought this was a stupid point. Would we allow, let's say a developer is getting ready, wants to, but he doesn't want to wait for the store, but he's got to do something. He plans on it. Would we allow that package plant for it?
I don't know why you would.
That's why, I guess that's why I just want to make sure we're not locking that out.
No, I don't know why you would approve that.
Why you would approve that?
Yeah,
Because here's my concern. This is my, because of just
Just want me to pursue it, why wouldn't you?
Jim just said, we have developers waiting for the sewer. Okay, we have a developer sitting there with one of our overlays we own. All of a sudden, that sewer shows up and he can put 4 houses per acre. Is he gonna tell us the pound sand?
now he's gonna wait for the sewer to get there.
Okay, the sewer's there now.
Yeah.
Why would? Maybe it's that time to talk about this, but why would he? What would stop him from at that time saying, you know what, I don't have to do this over here? The capacity for that sewer is there now.
So to help you along, Steve, maybe this is what you're alluding to. So in order to get the projects going, and talking to the developers, a lot of them can do, when they know that sewer's coming, they're sitting there with their 100 acres. All right, or 100 houses. They are doing and looking at even doing it more so, and starting doing, go ahead and do the work. In other words, start putting the roads, cutting the roads in, cutting the pads for the lots, doing all that in anticipation of that sewer hitting. So that way they're not wasting any money. One developer told us his thought on it. There's a million different ways to look at it. So if you have a $10 million project and you go to the bank and you want to borrow money, and the banks are requiring now 30% down. Okay, so he's going to have a $3 million outlay. His comment to me was, why not take that $3 million? You don't have to wait on the bank because you're going to spend your own $3 million. Go ahead and start doing the site work. Get it ready and go that route. So maybe that's more what you're looking at, is to help them get started. So that's what they're doing, is they're looking at timeline. When's that sewer going to come, which is what we're trying to get them answers to. And then they're going to go in and start cutting and doing site work and getting ready. In the day, I'm not saying that people would do it. In the day when we knew where that sewer was going, we would actually start putting them on the roof. And then all you gotta do is just tap into it. Now, I don't know if the banks will allow that, but their comment was, well, we're gonna spend $3 million anyway, I'm not waiting on the bank, we'll go ahead and get started. So there again, that's an on the ground thing that I can share, and hopefully everybody understands that. That's how they're gonna get started though. I understand.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to talk to Tiffany because we did a pretty deep dive with Christie at Licking County and she's sharp and there's some stuff going on for Licking and Delaware County.
Yeah,
To try and speed things along because of the permitting process and how long it takes. And so if there's not a great plan to get the sewer lines out to where they need to be, where these developers are, it's something we may need to face. So I think it's really important that we find out where Delaware County's at. And Christie will also answer questions we have too, but,
Well, it makes it kind of if they're biased in the conversation, their point of view, they're not biased.
it
Yeah, if they don't, they don't like package plant, well, we don't need to be pushing that stone up the hill.
well,
Right.
right, yeah, and I understand what you're saying, that's why I was telling you what they're already thinking. Now, that doesn't mean, and I don't think we have one in Harlem Township, a remote area that the sewer's just not gonna get to forever. I can see a package plant there. You know, it's just like, oh God, you guys are 20 years away or 10 years away. You know, I don't think we have those areas because of the four corners, all four corners, there's a sewer somewhere out there. You've got Galena, Columbus, New Albany, Johnstown.
Well, don't forget the total fine.
Well, that's a package plant. I'm talking about.
No, that's sewer.
That's package.
Is that a package?
Yeah, that's package.
Okay, oh, there's your example.
Yeah. So,
in that on Page Road, the trailer park.
Yeah, package.
yeah, it's a problem.
It's dying.
Right.
That's
when
what
I
I'm.
package died a couple years ago.
But we'll report more back. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot to it. I just,
And I don't know one meeting is gonna do it all.
I think it'll be a step.
Yeah, there's a lot involved. What we gotta do is get preliminary answers. And, also we're having meetings with, other entities, which I can't go into right now, and they have some solutions maybe. So there it goes. You've been busy, Tom's been busy, everybody's been busy. You know, and in one of the meetings, I expressed that, we're working on 18,000 acres. We're doing a lot. When we all sit here and, we're talking about this and that, I want you guys to realize what a great job everybody's doing. And nowhere, I don't think there's any place in the state where they're working on 18,000 acres. Yeah, I mean, it's huge. And when you start looking at this undertaking, you go, whoa.
I can guarantee you there's no township anywhere close around this area that's doing what we're doing.
Yeah. So,
All righty, anything else? Public comments? Just gonna say public, anything from the public comments?
No, I can.
The
agree
capital
with you.
plan is not real.
It's not real, but yeah, I can attest to the fact that this is the only township I've seen that has such a tight knit and, well-working crew, working on developments like this. I go to a lot of them, go to Franklin County almost every other week, and this is pretty unique.
Well, when this is all done, we'll be giving seminars on how to do this.
Is that just a hobby? Is this the word?
No, I'm a commercial broker,
Oh,
so I try and stay in the know and, make sure I've got a finger on the pulse of what's going on.
well, that makes sense.
I'll
Well, I can dedicate to-
No, I heard a lot of stuff today, and I was telling my wife we were having a date night. She was like, "We should just go," and just hear it from here. Well, she's very supportive.
If we at least stop at the corner and work.
Yeah, that's what I think of my.
Get a pie.
And then just move on.
Sewage and septic
You can say why, right? Say because the first thing I'll say is.
We live in Black Lake, yeah. We might move here, yeah. Everything goes, if that farmer's market gets. But no, it's, yeah, we love this area and, yeah, it's growing really fast.
Anything else? Yes.
What's the schedule for the industrial overlay to be approved and what's the schedule on that overall?
The first hearing is on Monday, the 28th. Delaware County Regional Planning will pick it up the following Thursday. Which is the 31st. They'll come back to the zoning commission with their recommendations and suggestions. We'll probably have a second hearing the day, Tuesday after Labor Day. And hopefully at that point, we will have it on to the government. And then we'll take up. Wednesday.
Well, that Tuesday is our meeting, as well as I was.
Oh, that's right, we do, we're meeting that night. We may have to go to the very.
Well, if we start at 6:30. Running is about 7:30.
Yeah. Oh, till 7:30?
Potentially, it's
We
discussed
just,
meeting in
we,
another-
that happens.
We just have to make sure it happens. Nobody can go on.
Well, we got through it pretty good tonight.
Yeah, good.
I think all the committees are working good and everybody has the focus on what to do and we go along and we, talk about it. And Molly knows what she's doing, Tom and Bruce, everybody, you know, everybody's got a job and they work on it. That's good.
Well, this committee for being what it is, a voluntary committee is phenomenal. Pardon? Because what? Everybody gets a hot dog and a hamburger.
No, we want steak.
Yeah, well, you know, I do have somebody raising Wagyu right behind me, so one of them might disappear. They walk around with like this backpack on, but, you get this is phenomenal, but I have to say it again, just to make sure when we are talking as a committee or as any of the other entities, we have to make sure what we're saying.
Yep.
And just, you know, try to avoid phone calls, but what you lie to us?
You know.
So I would entertain a motion, we adjourn. Do I have a motion, to have a second, all in favor, aye, or I oppose?